Alright, we finally have a government. It's taken 40 days, coalition negotiations between National, ACT, and New Zealand First, but, they figured it out. They finally have a government. It's crazy that it took this long to get a government between three parties that basically agree with each other. It's not like it's, New Zealand First working with Labour, like in 2017. Like, these parties, they broadly agree on things, and it seemed to be pretty petty over the last few weeks. It seemed like, the Winston and David Seymour, they've been flexing their powers as smaller parties, being a little spoiled, going like, well, we're not going to form this government. But they finally have a government, it's done. And, it's been fun joking around saying, these losers, look at them, unable to form a government. Now that we have a government, I'm depressed. Looking at, the policy concessions that National has done, looking at what is actually going to happen, it's depressing. And especially looking at the ministers. Oh my god. So the big thing that everyone wants to talk about is the fact that David Seymour and Winston Peters are going to share being Deputy Prime Minister. It's a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. They're both fucking children. They can't, go... They can't let the other person be above them. They can't let them be Deputy Prime Minister. Because let's be real, it's David Seymour should have been Deputy Prime Minister. His party is the bigger party in the coalition. So they should be Deputy Prime Minister. But no, Winston doesn't want that to happen, so they're both Deputy Prime Minister, and they're going to share it. Winston for the first half of the term, and David Seymour for the second half. Which is crazy. It's crazy that, Winston gets the first half? So, if the coalition breaks up and, they have to have a re-election early or whatever, Winston gets more? It's so stupid. And also, it's a role that doesn't mean anything, so it's a waste of time. But I guess if David Seymour got it over Winston, everyone would be like, hey, Winston, you fucking loser. And imagine if it was the other way around. Winston got it, David Seymour didn't. Oh, it would be a field day. I'd have so much fun making fun of David Seymour. Can't negotiate for shit, can't be Deputy Prime Minister. So, whatever, that's the situation. Now, I've got a list of policy concessions that they have. It's sad. It's not all, these aren't all the policies that are coming out. There's, National's tax cut policy, that's intact. They said basically everything they said on tax cuts is happening. So the realignment of the tax policies, they said the average person is getting they said $150 a week or whatever. Bullshit, that's not going to happen. The average person is going to get more like $50 a fortnight. It's not nothing, but it's not the things they promised. They were lying when they were campaigning. They were hiding their numbers. But anyway, so those tax cuts are happening, but they don't get their foreign buyers tax. Winston Peters has blocked that. We all knew that was happening, and it wasn't going to raise the money that they were saying it was going to raise. So currently overseas buyers can't buy a house in New Zealand, but they said they'll allow foreign buyers to buy a house if it if it's a luxury home. So I think they said over $2 million, the price of the home, and they would then be taxed 15% or something stupid. It was a dumb policy. They couldn't cost it correctly. They were absolutely lying through their teeth. And they're probably lucky that Winston has blocked this because he doesn't like foreign buyers. They're probably lucky that Winston has blocked this, so their numbers, can't be shown to be absolute bullshit, because they were absolute bullshit. They're talking out their ass. Anyway, so that's gone, leaving a big hole in their tax plan, which they're saying they don't have an answer for right now. They're like, oh, we'll find the money, whatever. But what it means is there's going to be deeper cuts in, your government expenditure, more layoffs, things like that, the ACT Party's been talking about. They haven't announced that yet, but there's no way it's not happening. They have that, unless they're going to be running deficits, which I don't, can they? Can they do that and still be, fine with their constituents and the people that voted for them? I don't think so. I think, they're going to have a deficit the next 2 years, and they're going to want to have that third year as a surplus, surely. They're going to have to. Even with the economic downturn, their base is telling them they need to pay off debt and stop paying so much money. So they need to, get back in surplus. So, they're going to have to cut more jobs, more ministerial roles, more ministerial departments. So we'll see. We'll see what actually happens there. So the 3-strike law is back. Cringe, saying that if you're in your your criminal activity over a certain threshold, it means you get tried at the your sentence has to be the highest. Like, the judge doesn't have the decision. It has to be, like, your sentence has to be the highest possible amount, which is ridiculous. A judge shouldn't have that ability taken away from them, regardless of how many, like, crimes a person has committed. Like, a judge should still have that decision. It shouldn't be, like, a blank check. Like, because we've seen what happens with three-strike laws, is, like, a judge goes, I don't want to give this person life in prison, but I legally have to. If I wasn't bound to this, I would give them less, because of the circumstances. But because, a three-strike law it's a blanket rule. It's very silly. Anyway, so that's coming back. Charter schools is coming back. Whoopee, inefficient ways to fund schools. Anyway, whatever. Charter schools is basically private funded, publicly funded schools, but run privately, essentially. That's what a charter school is. It's a mix of the two. And National brought that in 2014 or so, 2015, and Labour got rid of it, obviously, because there was cringe. No, they brought charter schools in earlier, maybe 2011, maybe. More around, what was that guy's name? John Banks, when he was, in Parliament, for the ACT Party, and they brought in that initiative then, and that was an ACT Party policy. So I think, it was in their jonky government, anyway. And so Jacinda repealed it, and the Labour Party repealed it, and it's coming back. Cringe. Anyway, I don't think they repealed them, they just, they stopped expanding them, I believe. I believe there's still charter schools out there. I'm not 100% on that. Now, David Seymour's big thing, he wants to have a referendum on the Treaty of Waitangi, which is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of. We should have a referendum on an agreement that's been signed? That doesn't make any sense. Let's all have a referendum on whether we should steal David Seymour's house. Why don't we do that? Why not? Why don't we do that? Oh, well, because it breaches someone else's rights? Oh, is that right? Like, David Seymour, like, he's a libertarian all the way up to he can shit on brown people. That's David Seymour's personal policies. Libertarian for white people. Anyway, so that's happening, and his referendum, he wanted to push that referendum, make the government support it. It's so divisive that it's not, they're not going to support it. I think Winston probably would support it, but National's not going to support it, thankfully. But so they're going to support it up to the first reading, so allow it to go through one reading in Parliament, send it through to select committee, and then it'll be thrown out then. But it's going to be in our fucking conversation, and it's going to be so divisive. There's going to be protests all about it. Willie Jackson, Labour Party former minister, he was talking about how, there's going to be protests worse than, the Springbok Rugby Tour, and I definitely agree. It's good. Like, this is far worse than the foreshore and seabed issue back in 2004. Like, it's ridiculous. You can't have a referendum on an agreement and on the it was the settlement in New Zealand. That was the agreement. You can't make an agreement, then once you have more power, fucking renege on the agreement. Like, New Zealand is currently coming to terms with this agreement that we've made with the Treaty of Waitangi. We can't just throw it out. It's fucking ridiculous. So what I have written here, foreign buyers tax, that's gone. Cabinet ministers. So there's a few, mostly National Party policy is staying in place. The main thing that was getting rid of was the foreign buyers ban. Winston Peters has his regional growth fund again. So back in 2017, he made the government pass over $1 billion worth of money put into a slush fund. These are the words of the National Party at the time, saying it was a slush fund. To be funded, to buy votes in regional areas, but to, build infrastructure and things like that, which is a good thing. It's a weird way to funnel that money, to, set that money aside in this kind of fund to fund the regional areas. It's a weird policy. No other party's pushing it, only Winston Peters, and that's why he's getting it through his negotiations. So, that's happening. National, in their own words, funding a slush fund into the regional growth fund. Anyway, so let's talk about cabinet ministers. So, the big thing was the sharing of the Deputy Prime Minister. Deputy Prime Minister is a bullshit role anyway, it doesn't matter. Luxon is Prime Minister, and he's got a bunch of other, minor things. Minister of National Security Intelligence, who cares? I'll just run through these quickly. Chris Bishop, he's the Minister for Housing and Infrastructure. Makes sense, but they're talking about reforming the RMA even further, getting rid of more regulation around housing and stuff. It makes sense. We'll see what happens. They're talking about still in cities instead of doing density building that they've been trying to do over the last 5 years or so. They're going to be trying to do more expansion building in cities to try to expand more out into greenfields, which is it's not a good policy. I don't like it myself. Like, if you live in Auckland, you'll know that you're seeing a lot of houses being demolished and then built closer together. I'm sure this is happening in Wellington and Christchurch and other bigger townships as well. That's probably a better situation to build these tighter units to have these first home buyers being able to get into there, opposed to people having to live so far in like Pukekohe and out in like Silverdale. Like, who wants to live out there? It's so far away, and then you have to commute all the way to the city with a shitty fucking traffic. You're driving for your hour plus for commuting each way. It's a waste of time. So yeah, I don't like that. I prefer medium density housing, but whatever, that's their policy. That's going to happen. Shane Reddy, Minister for Health and Pacific Peoples, it's because they don't have a single Pacifica person in their ranks. Simeon Brown for transport, that made sense. So, he's going to be bad. Whatever. Judith Collins, I'm skipping a few here, who cares? Paul Goldsmith is going to be the Minister for negotiations for the Treaty of Waitangi. Fucking hilarious. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Judith Collins, is going to be the Attorney General. Oh my god. Judith Collins, has been fired from ministerial positions before. She's right back. She's been kicked out as a leader of the party. She's right back. She's a leech on the National Party. It's insane how she just keeps coming back. So whatever, they have other people who really cares. They're no one that prominent that I care about. Jerry Brownlee is going to be the Speaker of the House. A bit cringe. I don't like Jerry Brownlee, but who else is going to be? It has got to be someone, right? I think it'd be so funny if Winston was the Speaker of the House. It would be hilarious. I would love that. Anyway, so David Seymour, he's this newly created Minister of Regulation. So he's gonna be like, I'm gonna cut this red tape, blah blah blah. That's gonna allow him to be closer to being to cut these government agencies and things like that to try to cut down on costs. Hey, if he can cut down on wasteful spending, I support him. What he thinks is wasteful spending and what I think is wasteful spending is very different. He thinks wasteful spending is any time you spend money on the arts, or any money you spend on marginalized communities, or any money that you spend on, I don't know, taxing wealthy people. He's probably not going to be funding things like increased funding for the IRD to be going after tax dodging. He's not going to be supporting that because all his voters and all his donors are all tax fucking cheats, right? So whatever. Brooke Van Velding is Minister of Internal Affairs and Workplace Relations and Safety. So they're going to be cutting down on regulations and safety in the workplace. Great. It is bad. It is quite restrictive in workplace, relations and things like that. But it's for the best. I think they're going to be cutting a lot of these union policies that Labour's been passing the last couple of years, which sucks because I think these are really great collective bargaining regulations that they've been bringing in. Probably the best thing Labour's done in the last 3 years is these negotiation tactics for unions and these collective bargaining things for across industries. Very Scandinavian, but they're probably going to cut that. So whatever. Nicole McKay, National ACT Party MP, is going to be the Minister for Courts and the Associate Minister of Justice, specifically for firearms. She is a massive gun lobbyist. Great. All the great work that our government has done to cut back on guns and increase gun regulation and doing gun buybacks. I'm sure she's going to do a great job. Alright, and some other ACT people. They've got some out-of-cabinet people. Winston Peters, Foreign Minister, as usual. That makes sense. Yeah, and he keeps him busy. It keeps him away from us and fucking around with overseas people. And I think a lot of people are saying, he's good at that job. He's done it quite a lot. He 2005 and in 2017, for those two periods, he was the foreign minister. I see no reason why he can't be a good foreign minister. He has been in the past. I think he's good at socializing and he's a good laugh, right? I think that's why. But, and the Minister for Racing, funny because, like, man, I want to do a massive video and a deep dive into the racing industry in New Zealand, how it's been funded by Winston and propped up by Winston, because so much government money goes into the racing industry. If David Seymour wants to find places to cut regulation or to cut costs and wasteful spending, it's in the fucking racing industry, bro. Anyway, so racing industry, I wonder if he's going to stop the banning of greyhound racing that's going to be coming into place, because that's probably going to happen, this ban on greyhound racing, which is great. It needs to be banned, but he might stop that. So we'll see. Shane Jones, the Minister of Oceans and Fisheries, Regional Development, that's in the Regional Growth Fund and all that, and Associate Minister of a bunch of shit. Yeah, it's just so he can, use that Regional Growth Fund well, and they'll manage that. But, yeah, it's interesting. And Casey Costello, she's running in that by-election in Port Waikato, so she's probably not going to win it, but she could, so that's interesting. And she's got a few ministerial positions as well, so that's basically all that matters there. So what's going to happen? Government's going to come in. I think these policies are really cringe. If they get this referendum through, I'm going to be so mad. Like, I'm a very lazy political person. Like, I do not go out and protest. I do not, go... I should, but I'm a bit lazy. I work a lot, and I got these videos that I make as well, so I'm just... I feel like I don't have time to do that. I do. I should be doing that and getting more involved in politics in that way. I would be on the fucking street if that is happening. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting if we have that referendum. But, we'll see if that happens. It's going to be funny to see, how they're going to fill this fiscal hole. It's going to be cuts in things like WINS and in, the Ministry for Pacific People. It's going to be cuts in MBIE and things like that, things that David Seymour talked about a lot in the run-up to the election. So we'll have to see. Will this coalition go on for the whole 3 years? We will have to wait and see. I don't think so, but we'll have to see. My money is not going through, but a lot of people said that in the 2017 coalition as well, and that made the difference too. But maybe it wouldn't have if COVID hadn't really cut off that last end of the their term. That last year of the term was COVID related and bogged down by COVID. So we'll see. We will see if this coalition goes the distance. It is interesting. This is the first time ever that is a coalition between three parties. Like a direct coalition. No conference and supply. It is one big coalition, which never happened before. So it is, it's interesting. We'll have to see if it lasts the distance. I don't think it will. I think this will be a really bad government. I think we're in for a lot of hurt in this country. I think the people who already have a lot of money and have assets, they're going to be doing great. I think, I don't think people, who are struggling, students, people on benefits, people in marginalized communities, first-time buyers, they're all going to be worse off under this government. And, prison populations are going to grow. They're going to punish people more instead of having more rehabilitation and helping people. We're just going to have to see. But, let me know your thoughts on this government that is coming in. It's depressing. Just going to add a little thing at the end. I feel like this channel is being bogged down a little bit by these off-the-cuff bits. I do like to do these off-the-cuff, discussions on, current policy or, new news and things like that. But I feel like this channel is more for my more edited and researched things. So I've made a whole new channel where you can look at my off-the-cuff responses to things like this. So I'll put videos like this video that I've just done and other videos similar to this onto that channel as well. So please go follow that, and I will hopefully be able to just get those videos out on that side instead of over here, just so this channel could be more about my more highly edited videos, such as my multi-party video, which, I said will be out by now, but it's not. I'm working on it. Alright, so, cheers. Go follow that YouTube channel. It is linked in the description. I'd really appreciate you following me over there.